You there, Coach?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry, we got some buttons that don't always work here on the board.
How you guys doing today?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for joining us. Want to talk a little wrestling with you.
No problem.
So, pretty exciting first year for you down there at Lower Cape May. Take us through that and what your expectations were coming in. I know you're a longtime wrestling guy around here and wanted to really take the bull by the horns with that program and make it a contender.
Yeah, we last 3 years, I mean, the team down here, they've finished with 8 kids on the team at the end of the season, and this year we finished with 25.
Wow.
So, we tripled the numbers. The senior class, right, that's graduating this year, we had more combined wins this year than they had in all 3 of their years wrestling at Lower Cape May. So we're heading in the right direction. You know what I mean? Took over the rec program, so we're starting them younger now this year. I coach them 1 to 2 days a week, and I really didn't expect us to have 11 dual meet wins this year, and we did. We had a couple of big wins over Holy Spirit. We beat Vineland, who I didn't think that we were going to be able to, and then we were competitive with a couple of South Jersey state playoff teams in Collingswood and Shawnee. Those matches were anywhere between 3 and 6 points. One match, goes our way. We're in the hunt for it and possibly win the dual meet. So I thought this year was great. The kids are excited. They all want to keep training. I got a couple of them up in Atlantic City this week watching so they can get that itch to try and get there the next couple of years. I made them all come up to districts to see where they have to be at regions and everything. So, we're heading in the right direction, and I'm real excited to see where we're going to end up in a couple of years.
I got to tell you, Coach, one of the best things you see on Facebook is those 5-year-old youth wrestling matches.
Oh, my gosh.
The one is hilarious. I don't know if you've seen it where a little boy runs out to protect his sister who he thinks getting beat up.
Yes, it's perfect. No, the little kids, let me tell you something. I have more fun at little kids practices than I do at the high school practice. I'm telling you right now, they are the best.
Well, that's one of the biggest parts of building any high school program is reaching down into that youth organization and, getting them on board with your vision of where things can go.
Absolutely. And, I'm in touch with Kerry Colott. For those guys out there who don't know who Kerry Colott is, he's arguably the best high school wrestler the country's ever seen from Pennsylvania. He's a 4-time Pennsylvania state champion, and he's a 2-time NCAA champion, won many world level tournaments, and he's the head coach at Campbell University. And we talk about it all the time since we've been in contact about the little kids, like the feeder programs. Like that's where you start. Getting everybody on the same page and not worrying about, this is my program at the rec level, this is my program at the high school. No, it's all one thing, all for the community to get better, and it's for the kids. And, I think that gets lost a lot with egos. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely, and that's a great point you make. Like, hey, this isn't just a high school program; this is the town's program. These are where these kids, develop into. So that's a great point to really make the coaches and the parents of the 7 and 8-year-olds feel like they're a part of your program as well, even though you're coaching 16 and 17-year-olds.
Yeah, I try to show face there as much as possible. You know what I mean? When they have the home matches on Friday nights, we had the end of the year tournament that the rec hosts. I was there last weekend for a little while, coaching them throughout the week, so it's fun. We're building that relationship, and we're going to be moving in the right direction. I would look out in the next 3 or 4 years to see where we're going to be, where we're going to end up. My biggest class is my freshman class. We have 12 freshmen this year.
Nice.
So that's really looking up, and they all play football for us too. So we're not going to be losing them anytime soon. They're all bought in, So we're moving.
We're talking with Billy Damiana, head wrestling coach at Lower Cape May, and Coach, when you first got that job, I know you were real excited seeing your posts on Twitter and how do you keep that excitement going? Obviously, you're a wrestling guy, so it's not that hard to really be excited about wrestling. But to take the momentum you built from this year and really carry it into the next 3-4 years so that you can have one of those programs where you have 20 to 30 kids coming out every year.
Well, I'm going to be honest. This started really when I started training CJ La Fregola from St. Joe. When I started training with him and he took 7th in the state as a junior, I was trying to figure out, because he was still on the ropes of what sport was he going to do in college.
Yep.
Okay, because he was a fantastic football player, fantastic wrestler, fantastic baseball player. So when we went from the transition from baseball season when he was a junior to the summer as a senior, we were training, and I was just really trying to figure out how to keep him interested and keep him excited for the following season. He's just an incredible athlete, and we just had to fine tune a few things. But one of the things that I found that works is you got to give the kids a bigger vision. Okay, and you got to get them to buy in to something that's 2 or 3 years down the line. So what I kept pitching to CJ was, you can be an NCAA All-American. And then once kids at that level start thinking into the future, they buy into the now. And when they buy into the now, then they give you your maximum effort and get really excited. And I did the same thing when I was at Buna with Antonio Rodriguez, Jake Maxwell, just constantly pushing forward and thinking about the future rather than the now. Then they don't think about as much of as being pressured or whatever. They have an ultimate goal, and they work hard to achieve that goal. So that's my big thing, is give them a future and then help them along the way so they're excited.
Now, Coach, I was down over Atlantic City last night, and one of the cool things, and I wrote about this for GloryDaysOnline.com, is just the thrill you see with these guys when they make it there finally as a senior and are able to get a win. You saw that with guys like Kevon Barry from Oakcrest, Jefferson DeJean, Egg Harbor Township, Sal Manera of St. Augustine Prep. I mean, these guys know they're probably not going to win a state championship, but to get there and get a win in that kind of atmosphere, I mean, if you've never been there, it can be overwhelming for a 16, 17-year-old kid to be out there, and there's 5,000 fans and the lights and the whole everything that's going on can kind of overwhelm you, and you saw that with a guy like Connor Krause last year from Prep. He went 0-2. He admitted he was kind of overwhelmed with the whole thing. Comes back this year, gets a win in his first match. So that's really cool when you see guys really rise to the moment there in Atlantic City.
Yeah, the best way for those of you out there who've never been there, the best way I can describe it is like the Roman Colosseum, and you have these athletes that are combatants down there, and then you have all the fans around. I mean, they're relatively close. It doesn't matter, if they're in the second level or not. They feel like they're right on top of you, and the lights are bright, and you have to be ready to go. And the way I say, to my seniors and to any senior out there, it's just like from Rocky III, where Apollo is yelling at Rocky, there is no tomorrow, there is no tomorrow, there is no tomorrow, because that is it. This is it for a lot of these kids this weekend, and you're right. You're 100% correct. The lights and the atmosphere can get to you, but you got to block it out the best you can, because there is no tomorrow for some of these kids, and that's it.
Talk with head coach Billy Damiana from Lower Cape May Wrestling, and Coach, that Atlantic City experience is something these guys will never forget. Even if you go 0-2, just to be there, and when you see the quality of wrestling down there, it's always amazing to me, because you might see guys on a local level and nobody can really come close to them. They're just tooling on guys, and they get to Atlantic City, and the next thing you know, they're wrapped up into a pretzel by some kid from Piscataway or something, and you're like, wow, this is a whole different level. Yeah,
well, one of the things too is that what you see in Atlantic City is a lot of people get exposed. You'll see someone sometimes with a 40-1 record or 40-0 record, and you get kids that get a little nervous until they get out there. They club them in the back of the head one time, and all of a sudden the kid falls down. Sometimes these records are inflated. You know what I mean? Because those some kids are battle tested throughout the year, and they'll have 3 or 4 losses against some of the top kids in the state or the country. You know what I mean? And you see a lot of that. That's one of the things I look forward to when I go to Atlantic City, when I competed, as well as, from watching. I'm from Lower Cape May. There's some kids. I remember I wrestled a kid from Randolph, and they have no idea where the hell Cape May is. You know what I mean? So they come out. Randolph, they have a decent program every once in a while. Well, you had to make it known to them real quick that you weren't playing around. So that's one of the things I always look forward to. I always carry that chip on my shoulder, being from Cape May. So I like to see some of these kids that are kind of overlooked, that are underdogs, that just show up and that they wrestle great, and they're there with that chip on their shoulder, and they really get after it.
Coach, real quick before we let you go, fill us in on some of these college guys that are off to the NCAAs. I know Joe Coutinho from Atlantic City. He's off to the D3 Nationals in Cleveland. Who else we got going?
We got La Fregola and my brother Corey Damiana today in the EIWAs. they might be on a collision course to wrestle each other, which would be fantastic. They train together here in the summer. They've been training together the last 3 or 4 years since they're both in high school. So they're on a collision course, and then you have the Big Tens obviously today. Well, it's obviously the toughest conference for college wrestling. You could probably catch some coverage on the BTN network. But I'm going to be heading up to EIWAs today to watch both CJ and Corey. So, let's get it rolling. And then you have NCAAs in 2 weeks. So those are the 3 local guys that I know about. And then you have
maybe Pat Darcy from Princeton as well.
Yes, Darcy from Princeton will be wrestling, and then you have the what's his name from Southern a few years ago who wrestled at Cal. He's wrestling at Cal Poly. They had their conferences last week. So today's a really big day for wrestling.
Good stuff as always, Coach. Tell CJ I said hello. He's used to be buddies with one of my nephews back when they were little kids. So
no problem.
Great kid.
No problem. Oh, he's the man. I love the kid.
Thanks, Billy. We'll catch up with you next wrestling season, and great job this year, and keep it going through the off season.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys. Go Caper Tigers.
Thanks, Billy. That was Coach Billy Damiana from Lower Cape May Wrestling.